We had a big win with the Supreme Court on the Department of Education. We want, as you know, we want to bring education back to the states, take the federal government out of it.
So the wins keep coming for President Trump and the administration. This marks 6 months that he's been in office for his second term. Today, that is the milestone marker. Now, the Supreme Court did greenlight the administration's move to eliminate 1,400 employees from the Department of Education's workforce. Now, the federal government is slowly taking itself out of the classroom, but what will it mean for teachers and students in your state? I'm joined right now by Michigan Republican Congressman and Chairman of the House Education and Workforce Committee, Tim Walberg. Great to have you here, Congressman. This was yet another example of lawfare against Trump. They tried to hold this up, obstruct his agenda, but now we're looking at what's going forward here, and they'll be downsizing with these employees, but how will that impact the students and parents?
Well, John, good to be with you. The people in November gave us a mandate to address this nation's education crisis, and that's what we're doing. The president very clearly has indicated he doesn't want to kill public education. He wants to ultimately abolish the department that has been a failure since 1980 when it was formed. We spent more money, but we in turn have put more regulatory burden on our K-12 systems in the states. We've taken control away from the states, and our test scores continue to go on. Downward is the motion. We want to go upward, and I think that's the president's desire. And so with Linda McMahon as our secretary, he's told her, follow the law, ultimately abolish the Department of Education, which I think in actual speak is depower it, right-size it, do what's necessary for the time being until the votes are there to give control totally back to the states. Do what you can to get out of the way of quality education, creativity, new ideas that can improve education, but have been tested at the local level.
That's right. And I mean, the president you just mentioned is behind this, and he feels he has the right people in place to do that. He did actually voice the support for all of this on X. Let's watch this is Truth Social, my apologies. The federal government has been running the education into the ground, and we want to give that power back to the people on this issue. So clearly that's going back to the states. But how do you expect the states will now guide this? If they are given that control back, are there going to have to be checks and balances on the states to see if it does follow in line with what the president and his agenda?
Well, you know, I think you're absolutely right. There has to be some check and balance. A lot of that will come at the state level as they look at other states. Michigan will look at Indiana. I hope, and we'll say Indiana, Ohio are doing some great things, innovative things in K-12 education. They're succeeding. They have more choice opportunities for kids, more competition.
Right.
And competition in the capital system breeds success.
So if you have the oversight, it'll be checks and balances, but not necessarily in the form that we're seeing it right now with this Department of Education that clearly was draining a lot of the funds, too, from the government.
Well, you know, Michigan gets about 9% of its education dollars from the federal government.
Yeah.
We get over 90% of our bureaucratic, regulatory red tape. All of that has a cost. All of that takes away from time on task for the teacher.
Right.
If we get it right in these three areas, the student, the parent, and the teacher, we will succeed. And I think that's what the president, Linda McMahon, and myself in the Education Committee in the House want to see accomplished. Because education is the need for our workforce.
Yeah.
If we don't have an educated workforce, we won't stay ahead of the rest of the world.
Right.
And so the agenda is on. Sure. We did it better, actually did it better before the Department of Education was formed and took place in 1980.
Yeah.
We've been going backwards. I think it's time we wake up and find a means by which we can applaud the successes that will happen in our states. Get out of their way and see students, parents, and teachers succeed.
Very well said. Congressman, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on. Congressman Tim Walberg, appreciate you spending your Sunday with us.